Hello, welcome back to the Spider's Web, and in this video we're going to be finishing off our little character from Dungeon Saga. Still haven't remembered her name. Oh dear, I'm going to have a look. Ah well, never mind. Right, let's get on with it, shall we? As you can see, the wash has dried nicely. It's a lot of greens now rather than browns, which is what I was looking for. Oops, I forgot to do the... I've missed the bottom of those two little flasks there. Oh well, never mind. We can sort that out again. So, what do we need to do? Well, first of all, I need to get that in the right position. Let's just move my camera down a little bit, and that's better. And think of what we need to do. Okay, so all there is really is highlighting that breastplate, the yellow bits here, the cape obviously, and that little sash thing, the boots, and these little flasks, and near enough we're done. So let's get on with it, shall we? So we'll start off with the skin. There's not much to do, it's just the fingers. So we'll go into the paint that we used originally, which was the Kislev flesh, that one. And we'll just run up the fingers and onto there, and then here we'll go the opposite way. I'll just run down the fingers, and that done. Right, there's nothing really to do here, so we're not going to do anything there. Next we have the cape. Now that was a mix of different colours. If I remember rightly, it was a mix of the Baneblade brown, it was a mix of the green we had, and a little bit of that yellow. Right, I think I've gone a little bit too much because I had a drop of water on my brush which I hadn't noticed, and it's gone into it and made it much more water than I was expecting. So what I'm going to do instead of using that mix, let's see what there is. How does that work? That might work. This is Elysian green. I'm going to put a bit of this after giving it a good shake. I'm going to put a bit of this on the palette. Oh, it seems to be very watery as well. Bit of that on the palette and mix in a little bit of that yellow. And a spot of the Baneblade brown, and a little bit of that brown as well, just to change the colour slightly. Now this is going to be a bit of a strange little effect, which I don't like, so I'm not going to use that one. You see, you can play about. You don't have to stick with the colour you've mixed. If you don't like it, don't use it. You know, it's that simple. It's not the effect I was looking to achieve, so I'm just going to, well, this is quite watery anyway, I'm just going to take a little bit out of the pot. And I've realised why it's watery. It's watery because it's all clogged up at the bottom. bear with me a second. I need to do some minor alterations to this paint. Oh, I've dropped my stirring stick on the floor. So here we go. So I'll give it a bit of a stir. And then hopefully when we come back, or when we give it another shake, it should be okay. So we'll do that, we'll give it a shake and then see how we go from here. That looks a little better. Put that on the palette. Let's see how it looks just with this colour on the green. No, this is better. This is much better. Should have done this straight off instead of using that yellow colour, but instead of using that mixed colour. Oh well, that's the thing with it, with any art, and this is art, don't forget. Don't make the mistake of just thinking that because of painting miniatures it's not art. It is. With art, it's all a matter of playing about and finding the right colours, the right way of doing things for you. Basically finding your own technique in how to do these. You can follow other people's techniques, but they may feel a little strange if it's not the way you feel comfortable painting. Now, saying that, I'm not saying don't attempt it. What I'm saying is, by all means, copy other people's work, as it were. Make life easy for yourself. Don't think that just because you're new at painting, or you've not painted for a while and you're out of the habit, don't think that you can't use other people's styles to learn. Again, I mean, there's only so many colours that you can use, and there's only so many what's the word I'm looking for, there's only so much equipment you can use as well. So whatever you're thinking when it comes down to painting, then the chances are somebody else has already thought of it and already done it. So use the experience of other people and build up your own experiences of painting. Don't automatically jump in and expect you to be able to be a be a first class painter right off the bat. You're not. It takes practice, but for that practice you need something to start from, and other people's work is a very good place to learn. And after a while you think, well, that does feel a little bit uncomfortable, let's try something different. And you try somebody else's ideas and use them with the previous ones you've done, and that's when magic can happen, because that's when you find that by mixing and matching different people's ideas and different people's techniques, you'll find your own. You'll find one that you're very happy with, you're very comfortable with, and you run with it. And that's what you're supposed to do. So don't worry at all if you think that you're pinching somebody else's work. You're not. It's always a good place to start when you're thinking of painting. It's copying somebody else's technique. Obviously, if you're painting pictures, you don't copy somebody else's technique and then sign it with their name, you sign it with your own. You know? Oh, sorry. I've just realised then, I put some Flash Sketch yellow on the palette. And I bet you can't guess where I'm going to be putting this. I'm putting a little dab of this in each of the bottom of each of these little elliptical square shapes that we have here. Just to brighten them up a bit. There we go. Well, there's not much here to do, but oops! I keep hitting the camera with that. Maybe there was a reason why I moved the camera forward a little bit and I couldn't do it. And now I've moved it back, I'm hitting it again. Oh well. Just add a little spot. You don't have to go mad. But try and get it on each one. If you can't get at it, don't worry. You really don't need to go mad on these ones because you can't really see them very well. There we have, that will do for that. There you go. Next, what we're going to do is highlight the breastplate and the elbow things, and for that we're going to use the Eshin Grey, which is over here. We'll use a little bit of that, and we'll bring in some of the Pallid Witch Flesh. So the ones we've just used, Eshin Grey, which is the darker one, and the Pallid Witch Flesh, which is that one. So we're going to use those two, mix them together as we've done before, and we'll just add a little bit of highlighting to the raised areas. Obviously you know where the raised areas are because you can see they're raised. I don't really need to go any further with this comment. Tee hee 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 hee. And here as well. There we go. And we'll go once again over the edges of all of these areas with the yellow bits in the middle. And that is to take off the green wash. We're going to come back again and highlight it with just the Pallid Witch Flesh a little later, but I'll say for now we just need to cover the green that's there. And the way we're doing that is by putting the colour over that it was already. I mean, I suppose I could have left doing these originally until after I'd give it a wash, but I hadn't decided to give it the wash until I started washing. So and there's another thing as well. You can make things up on the fly. You don't have to do everything to plan. I don't know whether, I'm sure I must have said this before, but if you're painting and you see something that looks like a good idea, try it. You can always change your mind when you're in the middle of things. You can mix your painting. If you don't like the colour it's turned out, don't use it, as you saw earlier. There. And finally, there's not much of this mini, you know. There's not much of this mini painting at all. You can get decent results in just an hour's work. You know, if you want to go further into it, then fine, you can do. There's nothing stopping you. But as you say, an hour and a half's work can get you a decent miniature. Ready for the tabletop, not necessarily, nowhere near ready for competitions and stuff like that. But for the tabletop, if you're just painting minis for the tabletop, you don't need to go that extra mile. You just need to get it painted, and with a very basic paint scheme, and it's done. You know, your game's ready for playing, and it's going to look a lot better than if it was just plain grey or pewter figures, you know. Next, what do we have to do? We have to highlight the spear that she has. I am going to look at melting this back into place, so, but I'm not doing that yet. Next, as I say, we're going to be highlighting the spear, so we'll do the metal parts first with Necron compound. This is your dry brush. I haven't realised I got some yellow on there. Actually, that isn't the paint. So I've got something now finally on my brush. I'm going to brush it off. And do that there. Same again down here. And I'm going to also go over that area. I've decided now that I'm going to use that as like a metal flask. You never know, she might have something a little corrosive in there that wouldn't go into a normal flask. I mean, the character itself is a paladin, not a paladin, or what you call it, cleric. That was it. So you never know what they've got in the little bags. And as you can see, with adding that green wash to it, it's made it darker. So you're able to highlight it with the same colour as you painted in the first place, but it's still going to look a little bit darker. I'm just going to take some yellow so that flash gets yellow, put it into the Doombull brown, add a little bit of that pale grey as well, and that is going to be the highlight colour for the boots. And just a little splash of that colour here and there. There in here, I'll also run some down the top edge of that spear. And finally, we're going to use a little bit of Iron Breaker. There's not much to use on this, so I'm just taking it straight out of the pot. Get as much off as you can because you don't want a great deal, and we're just going to go just like that to show she's got a metal helmet on underneath her robe. And now the fun part of the show. A bit of black, and that will go all over the base. The base I'm going to paint up as I have with the rest of the Dungeon Saga minis. So it's going to be like flagstone, splattered with blood. Now the blood I use is blood for the blood god, the technical paint from GW. I'll be putting that on after I've painted the base. Then I'll give it a varnish with a matte varnish, and then I'll put some more on over the top of where I've done already, because when you put it on first of all and then give it a varnish, it goes dark and it goes like very matte colour, it takes the shine off it. If you then go over it again, it looks as though you've got a mix of fresh and a little bit of dried blood around it, so it gives it that much more pleasing effect for a blood stain. There we are. So I'll let that dry now, come back and just give it a dry brush over with a couple of greys, just to match up the rest of the whatchamacallit, the rest of the Dungeon Saga minis. I'll have some here. Let's see how I've done them. Remind myself more than anything else. And there we go, you can see what I mean about the blood stain. So all I've done is just dry brushed over with just one dry brush of Administratum Grey. But as you can see, you've got that little shiny bit around the edges. You've got a matte, much darker, flatter kind of effect, and it just shows the blood that's drying from the outside inwards, and it's not quite dried altogether. So there we are. Remember this little chap? So there we have it. That's another mini done. I hope you've enjoyed the video. So all I can do now is wait for this base to dry and then I can dry brush. But there she is in all her glory, as it were. As I say, hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, as always, take care, God bless, and bye for now. Here's a look at this mini, whose name I can't remember. Oh well. Oh, before we go, I did say I was going to go over these areas again with the powdered witch flesh, didn't I? I'd forgot about that. Let's do it now. Something was eating me then, I couldn't remember what it was, but I've just realised. So we'll just... And there's the postie. Don't know what's bringing us, but we'll find out in a moment. And we'll do this one here. This is just to separate it from the metal breastplate. Or rather, not the breastplate, which I've done. Alright, that will do the job. That's all we need. There we go. Now we're done. Oh, I'll proper look now at the highlighting. There we go. That's it. I'll leave again. Take care, God bless, and bye for now.